All right, so Google Forms is an amazing tool to be able to take, surveys, questionnaires. You can even turn it into a quiz, um, get all sorts of information, or assess, any level of student, whether it's your students in class or your professional development students. So I opened up Chrome, and Google Forms is one of the standard apps in sort of the Google suite of programs. And the way that we create a new Google form is by heading into Drive. We click on the blue New button in the upper left, and we don't see it on like the main list, but there's this More option, and it's the first option on our More list. So I want to go to Google Forms, where it launches us into a page with a blank form. You can give it a title. Call it our survey. You can give it a description if you want. And then you already have a brand new blank question ready to go. So this one's going to be called name. And really, this sort of question field is extremely important, because what Google Forms does is when somebody submits their answers, it neatly puts all of the answers into a Google spreadsheet for you, so that you can then have all of this data to do different manipulations or have a place to go and reference it. But it creates those columns based on the question. So I don't typically, as a best practice, you don't want to have your question be this really long-winded item. You want it to be nice and short. And then if the question needs more explanation, down here in the right-hand corner in our More button, we can add a description where you can actually type in more of a longer form question, what you need them to do. So there's that. So once we've named the question, given it our description, we can then actually change what type of question it is. So in this case, we want a short answer, but there are definitely all sorts of options and applications where you might need multiple choice or check boxes, a linear scale to rate different things, or for like our TAs and our special ed departments who are maybe tracking particular behavior of a student, date and time where you can actually pinpoint a specific time or a specific day where something occurred to be able to track it that way. But in this case, we're just going to choose a short answer. Down here on the right, we can also make a question required so that somebody can't actually submit the form until it has been filled out, which is kind of nice to guarantee that you actually get the data that you need. Of course, then you can also delete it. So say you realize that you don't need this question, you can get rid of it. Or you can duplicate. If the next question is going to be pretty similar in format, you can hit the duplicate button, and it will just carry everything on over to the next one. But I don't really want that, so I'm going to delete it. And I want to draw our attention over to this menu over on the right-hand side, which will move with us as we move down the form. Because we also have this option to just add a new fresh question, and that'll start it fresh. So this next one, I want to ask about position. And we're going to add a description. So what do you do in your district? And I want this one to be multiple choice. So are you a teacher? Are you an administrator? And we see that as we kind of go down the line, it adds the options as you go to kind of accommodate your choices. And then we can add other where to let somebody fill it in. So we're going to require that one. And we have a nice little form. One really cool thing is that, at any point, this isn't exactly how the form will look. If you click on the preview, you actually get to see what it will look to the people who are actually responding to it. So I'm going to go back on my tab up at the top. It'll create a new tab with our live survey. But you click this little preview eyeball button, and you will get the live form. And this will actually take responses. So if I type in Tim Higgins, I type in support, and I submit it, that's a live form. So your form is ready to go immediately. And then we have this option to submit another response. Okay, so we still have a little editing to do, so we're going to head back. One other thing, or another thing that we can do is up in settings, there's a bunch of different options on how you want this form to behave. We can restrict it. In our case, we have our own Google domain at st25.org, and so you can restrict a form to only being able to be collected from people signed into their district account, which is nice for security, for privacy. You can make it collect an email address so that it's one less question on the actual form. It'll just take on the email address that the person used while submitting it. You can edit responses, things like that. You can also change if you turn it into a quiz. You can shuffle the question order so that your students aren't seeing the questions all in the same order. And then for quizzing, you can actually make it into a quiz where it'll assign point values to different questions, things like that. So that's basically Google Forms. Once you've created your form, you've sent it out to the world, people are responding to it, you can then come over here to this tab up top for responses, and you can see a real-time update as to what people are answering. So I've only answered one, so I am 100% support-based. But as people respond, you'll get a whole list, you'll get the chart to break out, and you'll get different charts tracking the different data that you've accepted. You can also click over here, and it will create a spreadsheet where it will lay out all of your information into a nice spreadsheet. So if we come over here quick to look, and we can see that this is what I was talking about, where it will assign the question name to the column header, and everything will be organized under that. So that's sort of just a basic intro to forms. If you are looking for something a little bit more in-depth or have a specific question to see if you can do something that you had an idea about, either email me, thiggins@sd25.org, or go on out to Google. There's all sorts of tutorials on how to use Google.